In the middle was Leroy Jordan, the robust leader of the Cowboy defense. Jordan relished meeting a runner or receiver man-to-man and then assaulting them with serpent swiftness.
Leroy Jordan, number 55, moved into the middle in 1966. His blitzes made the secondary's job much easier.
Watch rugged linebacker Leroy Jordan give Charlie Johnson a bad time, bulldogging him for a 9-yard loss. In the second half, Hill is foiled by the Dallas defense. Leroy Jordan forces him to fumble, then Leroy recovers on the Eagle 3.
First and 10. On the 37, the handoff straight ahead to Groh. Edwards, the linebacker, making the stop with Jordan. Second and 6. Here's the fake and the handoff to Earl Groh. Jordan again making the tackle.
Tom Landry, coach of the Cowboys, and Leroy Jordan.
The defense channeled their speed into points as they blazed a path to the end zone.
First and 10, the Eagles with the ball on their own 20-yard line. As Timmy Brown gets the call wide for the Eagles and is dropped there by Edwards. No gain. Second down 10 play as Timmy Brown gets the call on the quick trap. Only about 1 yard.
In the second quarter, the handoff goes to Big Willis Crenshaw. He hits off tackle for 1 yard. Crenshaw again. Still for a loss of 3 by Leroy Jordan and Jim Colvin. Johnson passing to Crenshaw. But again, Jordan and Colvin bring him down for a loss of 3 yards. The handoff to fullback Leroy Kelly. He slants for 2. Larry Stevens and Leroy Jordan combining.
On first down, Izo again to the air. Hit just as he throws the ball. Intercepted by Jordan. Good block. Jordan turns in a fine run. 49 yards for a touchdown. And the Cowboys take the lead 14-7. Asbury up the middle. Fumble. Towns recovers for the Cowboys.
Dick Hoke, number 42. Dropped by Leroy Jordan and Harold Hayes for a loss of...
This is Prentice Scott. 2-yard gain. Howley and Jordan making the stop. Joe Don Looney on the draw. He has running room, but just as he tries to shift the ball, he's hit by Willie Towns. And Leroy Jordan recovers. Snowden making the tackle. A gain, rather a return of 28 yards. Let's take a look at that again. This is Looney. See, he tries to shift the ball here. It's hit just as he does. And Jordan has a covey of blockers. One of those taken out is Sonny Jurgensen.
The ball at midfield, 2nd and 12, and the blitz is on as Leroy Jordan pulls down Gary Wood at the 39-yard line. The give is to Mercine. To the 31.
The Doomsday defense was the catalyst for Dallas' second summit meeting with the Packers. It was a defense that threatened a runner with one kind of extinction and quarterbacks with another. The Cowboys fielded the toughest defense to run against in the league. Dallas allowed the fewest first downs and yards gained rushing in the NFL. Number 55, middle linebacker Leroy Jordan rounded out the second network of defense. When Leroy Jordan ran back a pass for a touchdown, it was a third time a Cowboy linebacker would score with an interception. The 37-7 rout of Atlanta gave Dallas the momentum they needed. The NFL's second leading rusher. Caught in the mix-master crush of the Cowboy defense. General Charlie Johnson. As a fitting tribute to their efforts, the defense climaxed the satisfying evening with a safety. The 48-21 triumph set up a rematch with the high-scoring Eagles.
A draw to Bass gets 3 before Leroy Jordan makes the stop. Ram passer Roman Gabriel is pressured by number 74, Lilly. It's a screen to Les Josephson. But the Cowboys contain him well shy of the first down. For Leroy Jordan, oxygen is the answer to the hot Texas sun. Ram running back Tommy Mason can also attest to this fact.
On the next series, Randy Johnson runs afoul of the Dallas defense. Leroy Jordan picks off a pass and angles 33 yards to the end zone. At the half, it's the Cowboys 21-0.
The Cowboy defense became ruthless and unyielding.
With their backs to the wall, the Cardinals commit one more mistake. It cost them 2 points instead of 6. The rout ended with a score: Dallas 46, St. Louis 21.
Down Texas way, the Dallas defense is likened after Doomsday. It's very probable. After an exchange of field goals, a Leroy Jordan interception, the first of 3 for Dallas, set up the Cowboys' second touchdown.
And all we had was some cotton gloves like you see you work in your garden with. We didn't have any of these tailor-made gloves back then. So I said, well, guys, I'll just go with y'all without gloves. It'll be all right. After the first series, I came back to the sideline and asked the equipment man, I said, where are the gloves? I said, my hands are freezing off. I've got to have a pair of gloves.
Here's the Dallas defense. Towns, Pugh, Lilly, and Andre across the front. A veteran linebacking crew of Howley, Jordan, and Edwards. The deep backs are Green, Johnson, Gector, and Renfro. Starr stays with Anderson. Donnie wiggles his way for about 3. The former Texas Tech All-American is really carrying the load on this opening drive. Second down, and Mercine gets his first carry. He's into Dallas territory, but only for a couple. Starr with a give to Donnie Anderson. He picks up maybe a yard inside. Leroy Jordan, the first one there. From the Dallas 32, it's Wilson going left. But Mike Johnson and Leroy Jordan hold him to virtually no gain. No, Starr plays it safe. A handoff to Williams, who sweeps to his right. Leroy Jordan finally trips him up. Green Bay makes no attempt to stop the clock. And there's the gun, ending the first half of play. Green Bay appeared to have this one well in hand, but 2 late miscues have put Dallas right back into it. At the break, the Packers by 4. Starr will drop back. And it's Dave Edwards along with Lilly and Jordan who tackle him for a loss of 8. The Dallas pass rush has been superb today, totaling 7 quarterback sacks.
Chuck Mercine and those guys were not real fast, so you didn't have to worry about them outrunning. All you had to do is just get in position, you could make the tackle. But on that sheet of ice, we just had several opportunities on that drive to make the play and just couldn't stand up. Defensive linemen played the entire game without gloves, and most of them had frostbite from it. My feet and hands still bother me in cold weather. Just tingle and burn, and I hate cold weather because of it.
For Ryan, there was no escape from the Doomsday defense, and no more vivid memory than watching the awesome sight of 265-pound Willie Towns rumbling to a touchdown and the Cowboys' second straight victory. After a succession of fumbles, interceptions, and odd plays, the Cowboys stole the game from the Eagles and left them completely frustrated. What pro football was all about. Backing up the front 4 were 3 veteran linebackers. In the middle was Leroy Jordan, a master at diagnosing any type of play and stopping it cold. The
Moments later, Cleveland quarterback Frank Ryan was cracked by Bob Lilly and Leroy Jordan. Willie Towns, number 71, gathered in the fumble and lumbered to the first touchdown of his career as Dallas increased its lead to 14-0.
There was no team tougher to run against in all football. They swarmed and smothered and crowded and crushed and came in waves and packs of tacklers. Only 3 times did an opponent cross their goal line by rushing the football. If the defense was tough on runners, they were tougher on quarterbacks. The Cowboys tackled quarterbacks more times for more yards lost than any other team in pro football.
After the game, Falcon head coach Norm Van Brocklin said Dallas showed us how to play rough, tough football. There were a lot of bloody noses out there today. For the 4th straight week, the Doomsday defense held their opponents to less than 100 yards rushing, and through 4 games, no team had scored against them on the ground.
Behind the front 4 were the linebackers. From the outside came Dave Edwards and Chuck Howley. From the middle came Captain Leroy Jordan. In San Francisco, a season's struggles bore sweet fruit. The defense broke open a 3-3 tie by twice turning over the ball to...
Linebacker Leroy Jordan, number 55, waded through blockers to shut off the run.
And 54, Chuck Howley. First down, St. Louis, 40-yard line. Again, they go to MacArthur Lane, and this time he is hit hard on the right side as Jethro Pugh and Leroy Jordan get there quickly. In the defensive secondary for the Dallas Cowboys. Second down, a long yard. They go to Rowland, and Johnny trying for the first down is Quote. MacArthur Lane needing 77 yards as he came into the game for the rushing leadership in the National Football Conference. Has carried 5 times and gained 18 so far. Leroy Jordan plugging the hole along with Jethro Pugh. The ball first and 10 just outside their own 41-yard line. Jim Hart gives to Johnny Rowland, who has been hot tonight, and Rowland's up to the 44.
See Leroy Jordan, number 55, the middle linebacker. As he comes across, plays off Mulligan's block, gets up, goes down to one knee. Rowland comes around and makes the play. 77, Ron East came in there.
Third down and a yard to go. Roy Shivers is in the backfield for St. Louis, replacing MacArthur Lane. Johnny Rowland has it. Penalty flag thrown by the umpire at the line of scrimmage. Jordan made the tackle. Lane to the 25-yard line. Leroy Jordan waiting for him there.
Taylor fumbles. That's Waters. Charlie Waters of the Dallas Cowboys has run out of bounds at the 46-yard line. Waters with his second fumble recovery of the afternoon.
Aldy Taylor, let's take a look at that. Moving off the left side, and he's hit hard by number 55, Leroy Jordan. The ball pops loose. The Cowboys again with another break.
Mel Farr hit by Leroy Jordan as he crossed the line of scrimmage. Got up to the 22. McCullough to the right side. Walton to the left. 3rd and 7 from the 41. Landry trying to hit Farr. Leroy Jordan with the stop.
With me a couple of great football players. On my right, Bob Lilly, number 74. You've been watching for a long time now, Bob. And Leroy Jordan, I guess the defensive captain and play caller. And just going back into this football game, I know you talked about those. This is, of course, the 5th time the Cowboys have made those playoffs. Maybe Leroy will address it to you, because so many people have, as you well know, have wrapped the Cowboys over the years. They say they don't win the big games. I've been around you guys long enough to know that that's not the case. Maybe circumstance or something, but it has to start to infect your ball club a little bit, doesn't it, Leroy?
Yes, Frank, it does. I think the thing that people didn't realize, we had some problems that they didn't know about. We had people injured, and that's been the case for the last 3 or 4 years. Finally, this year, we came into the end of the season with people well, and that's been the case with our team. We had people hurt early in the season, but we got well at the end of the season. And that's been the whole thing with this team this year. We've been getting better every week.
Leroy, you're not the biggest of linebackers, what, 215 pounds? Neither Chuck Howley or Dave Edwards, but you got these big cats up front. But how about that linebacking core? It's one of the finest I've seen. You don't do a lot of blitzing either.
No, we don't. I think you have to have larger linebackers than we are to blitz a great deal, because most people block their backs, and you've got to be able to run over them or something, which most of the backs are bigger than we are, so we don't try to do it too much. We go back and defend. We have quick linebackers in Dave Edwards and Chuck Howley, and so we feel like we can do a better job in the secondary than we can blitzing. And when you get the kind of rush we do, you don't need to blitz that much.
Pressured heavily by Larry Cole, his pass went for Willard in the middle, but linebacker Leroy Jordan had his area perfectly covered, timed it beautifully, and intercepted the ball. Later, Brody said he was actually trying to throw away the pass. It was now 4th and 7. Brody faded back and went short over the middle to his setback, but the pass was broken up, and the 49ers had to give it up for the last time this season. This play, of course, deserves a repeat, if only because it was perhaps the biggest defensive play in Dallas' 11-year history. It was fitting, then, that the pass be broken up by linebackers Edwards and Jordan. For the quick and aggressive Cowboy backers are the heart of the Landry defense, and they have made the big plays all year.
Rucker to the right. Cunningham and Mueller to the running backs. Intercepted. Linebacker Leroy Jordan. The ball was tipped, I believe, as it was thrown, and the Cowboys have a first down on the first interception of the game. Watch Larry Cole, number 63, and give him just as much credit as Jordan, because it's he who puts the rush on John Brody and hurries this throw. Jordan beats Cass Banaszak.
On third down, Unitas escaped from his disintegrating passing pocket, only to be met by linebacker Leroy Jordan, whose perfect shoulder tackle jarred the ball loose, and Jethro Pugh recovered on the Colt 28.
And led by number 55, Leroy Jordan, the Dallas defense stopped Unitas' first pass, short of a first down. Third and 10, Unitas chose to run out of the pocket, but was hammered by Leroy Jordan and coughed up the ball to number 75, Jethro Pugh, on the Colts 28. But even experience couldn't deny the Doomsday defense for long. The Cowboys pressured. Morrow passed. And Leroy Jordan came so close that the missed interception caused him a little nausea. Their drive ended. The Colts were forced to go for a field goal.
And split out to the right is Roy Jefferson. And the tight end Mackey's moved out in the slot. Boulash, big, powerful rookie who really came along at the end of the season, is down by Leroy Jordan, number 55, the middle linebacker. A 4-yard gain by Norm Boulash. They're slotted to the left. Unitas flips it and completes it to the 29, but they're way short. That was the tight end, John Mackey, who caught the ball. He was down by Leroy Jordan. Fake draw play. There's a rush again on Unitas. He'll have to run it. He's to the 25. He fumbles. It's recovered by Jethro Pugh. Jethro Pugh on the ball, number 75. Chuck Howley hit Unitas and jarred the ball loose. The third turnover by Baltimore. 1 interception and 2 fumbles.
And there's Unitas, and he was moving around and in pretty good shape. And number 66 coming in there, George Andre, put the immediate pressure on him. There's Howley hitting him, and as well as Jordan. I would take another look at this play with Johnny all alone. And here comes the pressure up the middle. Unitas trying to break away. There's the hit.
The middle linebacker was Cobra Quick Leroy Jordan, number 55. Linebackers formed a perfect partnership. Jordan, number 55, Edwards, number 52, and Howley, number 54. A vintage blend of old pros.
On second down, the Giants with the football on their own 43.5-yard line. Houston again in motion. Duhan with the ball. Up over the 45 to about the 47. Leroy Jordan meets Bobby Duhan. Leroy's the one that also calls the defensive signals or audibles, playing off the first block. Number 55 gets up, does make a tackle on Duhan. Jordan, I think, is a great middle linebacker. He's most instrumental in the coordination that he achieves by knowing it. The stacked eye on the left side. In motion is Rich Houston on second down and 3. Morrison is hit hard, and he really is hit hard by Leroy Jordan. He fumbles the football. Dave Edwards has got it. Leroy Jordan, really top Joe Morrison. Out came the football. Dave Edwards recovers, I believe, our 7th fumble of the evening.
That's exactly right, and the Giants have lost 3 fumbles.
Giants in the stacked eye. This is Rich Houston, motion left. And this is Bobby Duhan. Joe Morrison with the block. Duhan to the 30-yard line, hit hard by number 55, Leroy Jordan.
Out of Excel, Alabama.
Boy, he's some football player. They got him listed at 220, and Don, I know he plays many times at 210.
That was my old roommate. Yeah, he stretches to get to 220. But he takes everything he got, throws it at him. He sure does a good job.
Houston in motion left. Duhan again, upended at the 45. Just about getting back to the line of scrimmage. Fine blocking throughout the night by this Giant offensive line. Greg Larson at center, 53. We'll look now at Leroy Jordan.
Well, we pointed out Leroy a while ago made a good tackle. We'll take another look at him here in slow motion. You'll see Pugh shift a little bit. All this is done. These audible calls are called by Leroy from his middle linebacker position. That's his 7th tackle tonight, and he has 4 assists on top of that.
They're on the Cowboys 28. Duhan over the middle and open, beating Chuck Howley inside the 15, and he fumbled.
Well, that's 9 of them.
Bob Hyland is upset.
9 fumbles in 1 ball game, Frank. When do you remember that last?
I have never seen one like this one.
St. Ferguson came up here a while ago. He says the reason why the Cowboys were fumbling, they weren't used to playing with a dry ball. Here's Chuck Howley, who goes back. He slips a little bit. He's covering Duhan. And actually, he beat, you saw the fumble. And I believe that is Leroy Jordan that picks it up, number 55, from his middle linebacker position.
On first down, Archie Manning ran into confusion in his own backfield. On second down, Manning.
On defense, the sturdy Doomsday defense made its own breaks by forcing inopportune passes and then reaping the rewards. Watch their 3 veteran linebackers work in perfect unison. Number 55, Leroy Jordan, neckties the receiver high. Then number 52, Dave Edwards, punched the ball into the waiting hands of number 54, Chuck Howley.
But a George Blanda, good old number 9, was not. Jurgensen fired 2 interceptions, one to linebacker Leroy Jordan, and Washington was shut out by Dallas 13-0. Dallas had clawed to the summit and finally reached the heady atmosphere of first place.
What some called Minnesota's pop gun offense. But the pop gun misfired the first time the Vikings had the ball. Dave Osborne fumbled, Jethro Pugh recovered for Dallas, and a valuable gift was given and received. The first was stilled when Coazo's pass leaked through the hands of Bob Grimm and into the hands of the Cowboys' Leroy Jordan. But the Cowboys...
The rest of the first quarter, Brody fell into a predictable pattern. On first down, Vic Washington was sent out to get a few grudging yards. Dallas would allow no more than that. The game, Brody regained the ball, but it took only 1 play for him to lose it again. Brody's second interception came at the hands of wily Leroy Jordan, number 55, who returned to the San Francisco 23. Although Brody's passing had improved in the second half, interceptions ruined key 49er drives.
Tough against the run. The middle linebacker, number 55, Leroy Jordan of Alabama, and who led the Cowboys this year in tackles.
Doomsday measured Miami for defeat. With all its tools of victory depleted.
Hey, let's get better now. We'll improve out here next couple series. Let's go.
The quarterback controversy was affecting every aspect of the team. The defense decided it was time to approach Coach Landry, but there were no volunteers.
We voted Leroy Jordan the opportunity to present our feelings to Coach Landry, that we wanted one quarterback, one leader, either one just give us a quarterback.
On the brink of a lost year, Tom Landry listened to his players and made the decision that launched an American hero and saved a Super Bowl season.
We'll go with Staubach as our quarterback. I think it's Rodgers' time to make his move if he's going to make it. I feel I'm confident he can do it, or else I wouldn't have picked him.
When he announced I was a starting quarterback, it changed my life. That was a kind of a whole new season starting, and we had a team meeting too, and it was a great team meeting.
Real emotional, and where players got up and really were hot.
Hey, this season isn't over. We still have 7 games to go, and
if they get in the goal line, it's over somebody's dead body. Otherwise, they don't get in there. We weren't giving it all we had, and from that point on, we did.
Leroy Jordan came by land.
Defense has allowed but 3 touchdowns, and it's been their excellence that has kept alive championship dreams. For his life and lobbing misdirected passes. Leroy Jordan, Dallas was devastating. As old pros like middle linebacker Leroy Jordan, number 55, hogtied the Big Red running game. After a 7-game absence, defense.
But on the next play, Brown fumbled after receiving a Kilmer pass, and the drive stalled. Still, Washington had shown a fluid attack, hammering away at the flanks and up the middle of the Dallas defense with equal success. And when the Cowboys got the ball for their first...
The trenches as Doomsday howled in on blitzes and bulldozed Sonny Jurgensen. Linebackers D.D. Lewis, Dave Edwards, Leroy Jordan, and rookie Rodrigo Barnes pinched in the middle. The Doomsday defense, every man a hitter. Jordan was always a sure and resolute tackler, but this year he buffed up his skills on pass defense and became the all-pro middle linebacker. Jordan flies headfirst into action and uses his helmet like the business end of a torpedo. Against the NFC Western champion Rams, Leroy Jordan made his presence felt when he intercepted a pass on the game's first play. Jordan's interception was...
For the screen, pushed number 68 Mark Nordquist into the path of a Poe James sweep and totally disrupt its timing.
By far the most intimidating Dallas defender was linebacker Leroy Jordan, number 55, who ranged from sideline to sideline, smacking Bengal runners. Jordan scored the first Cowboy touchdown when he intercepted Anderson's pass and raced 31 yards to give Dallas a 10-0 lead. In the first quarter, Jordan intercepted passes on 3 consecutive Cincinnati series to set up an early rout of the Bengals.
In the final 2 quarters, the aroused Doomsday defense canceled out the Redskin offense. They limited Washington to but 2 first downs, and under this pressure, the Redskins spewed out the football. While Washington... The Cardinals employed a double tight end offense for the second straight week, but Dallas linebackers, like 55 Leroy Jordan, shut down the run.
The key to the game for the Cowboys was the silencing of the throwing arm of John Hadel, and from the onset, the Cowboys executed. Number 55, Leroy Jordan, grabbed the pass in front of Ram tight end Bob Klein. Watch in an end zone replay as Jordan's perfect timing lulled John Hadel into thinking Klein was open.
Rams quarterback. Ferguson and McCutcheon the setbacks. McCutcheon on the wing off to the right side as the Rams go from the double wing on the first play from scrimmage. Intercepted by Leroy Jordan. And the Cowboys tip over at the 26. Well, it's something that Jordan and Coach Gene Stallings have been working on all season long. Staying out after practice and working simply on just catching the football. Leroy's got the good hands. He sure has, and I'll tell you, he's had a sensational year, Pat. He has. He leads NFL linebackers in interceptions. He had 6 on the year. Just one off the NFC lead, and Jordan bidding for all-pro honors for the first time in his 10-year career. Yards for offside sets up 1st and 5 at the Dallas 38. McCutcheon trying to get outside. That's Leroy Jordan. Probably just won himself a couple of more all-pro votes, making that stop at the 41-yard line for a loss of 3. Leroy, of course, has performed in the shadow of the Dick Butkuses and the Tommy Novises in the past, but this has been his year. He's been a great inspirational leader to this Dallas team as well. Has played an outstanding brand of middle linebacker. His interception total has been fantastic. At their 41-yard line, following a punt by Bateman. Bertelsen diving out to the 44. Is Leroy Jordan over there to make the stop? 10 seconds left to play in the first period. Klein, number 80, the intended receiver. Leroy Jordan cracked him as the football got there. Let's watch the drop of Leroy Jordan as Hadel shows pass all the way as well he would be expected to in this situation. Coming over to pick up Bob Klein. And I think Klein saw him coming. David. Bertelsen behind McCutcheon to the 30 for a pickup of 5. 40-yard pickup on that pass play a moment ago to Harold Jackson. That's Jackson's first catch of the day. 6 minutes, 25 seconds left to play in the first half. Dallas leading 17-0. Let's watch this pursuit again by Leroy Jordan as he gets through the line and gets away from the block of center Kenny Iman and comes over to make the tackle. 3rd down, 19. Rams at the Dallas 31. Bertelsen looking for some place to go, and he's got nothing. Rodrigo Barnes, number 56. Jordan, number 55. Cowboys have that 5th defensive back and extra linebacker in there. Bertelsen stacked up at the 35. That'll end the half. Excellent field position on their first possession of the second half. McCutcheon broke one tackle at the line of scrimmage. Couldn't get by Jordan and Lewis, who stopped him at the Cowboys 48 after a pickup of 3. It'll be 2nd down, 7.
Frank, I think over the years that Leroy Jordan probably has impressed more people with his sure tackling ability than anyone I've ever known. He is some kind of tackler, isn't he, Pat?
He really fills the hole with a great deal of strength, and he isn't that big.
That interception marooned the Vikings at their own 2-yard line. 3 thrusts into the Doomsday defense netted only 3 yards. And on 4th down, Mike Eischeid was forced to kick from deep in his own end zone.
First down at the 37.
Well, there's a big hit on a blitz. Jordan Edwards, Jethro Pugh. Wayne, what do you think of blitzing on running downs?
Well, it's a solid. You'll see Leroy slip off here now on the down block by Sunday. And I don't know if that was a blitz or just a line stunt. It was hard to tell right at the time.
He heard and saw the footsteps coming and pulled up short on a swing pass, causing an incompletion. Billy Kilmer's pass had gone forward, and so no fumble was allowed.
Dallas defense took its cue when, with his back to his own goal, Larry Lawrence uncorked a pass that popped to Leroy Jordan, and the old cowpoke ran it to the one from where Doug Dennison punched it in.
Short of the 48 of the Dallas Cowboys for the Oakland Raiders. Frank Fitz in motion. And running into all kinds of problems is number 23, Charlie Smith. He loses a yard. On 3rd down and 7, Lawrence limping away from the center. Fires it, almost intercepted. In and out of the hands of Leroy Jordan. That's 2 tonight that Leroy has almost had. They're down to their last defensive man as Pete Banaszak gets the call again on 2nd down. Leroy Jordan moving over from his middle linebacking position to make the stop. 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. Lawrence going to the air. Intercepted Leroy Jordan. Leroy Jordan back just to about the 1-foot line. Grand old middle linebacker with a 13-yard return of a Larry Lawrence interception. Leroy Jordan always with a sort of a knack for popping up where he shouldn't be if you're a quarterback.
Well, that was the second really bad throw by young Lawrence. The other one, oddly, was directed right to Leroy Jordan, but he dropped it. Look at this, Alex.
Yeah, he was right. I mean, the guy should have never thrown the ball, and I'm sure that Lawrence's knee is hurting him, and I can't figure out why they wouldn't take him out and put LaMonica in the game.
Yeah, they're not going to use Bland again.
Good block by Charlie Waters ahead of Jordan. On 3rd and 1. Fumble. LaMonica picks it up, but he'll be far short of the first down.
I like to see that. That's a gutsy play.
Charlie Smith gets about 3 yards out to the 32-yard line. Get there by Leroy Jordan. Been around for 12 years. Began his career in Buffalo. Came here in 1967. Hands off to Charlie Smith again. D.D. Lewis is there along with Leroy Jordan.
Well, clearly they're going to have to throw the ball if they want to keep possession of it. You've got a 3rd and long situation. 8 to go.
2nd down and 8. Raiders running the clock out, looking for their 12-2 season.
You know, we got to get a camera on.
Dallas kills it again.
And prompted 34-year-old Leroy Jordan to say, I felt like the headmaster at a Boy Scout jamboree. A trait dear to the heart of Leroy Jordan.
I think the veterans have their own enthusiasm. I think that's one of my assets as far as, you know, I really like to cheerlead. I like to cheer these guys on because I like to see people do things well.
The zest for the game spilled over from veterans.
The spirit and enthusiasm of the young infected the old as the once emotionless Cowboys jumped for joy, cheered, clapped, and laughed their way to their 11th straight season-opening win. Dallas played with confidence and poise, steadily applying pressure on Ram quarterback James Harris, number 12. Turnovers that were just barely out of reach were only temporary setbacks as 13-year veteran Leroy Jordan.
But there still remains remnants of past glory, like number 55, Leroy Jordan, who in his 13th year still has the speed and quickness to hold down the vital middle linebacker position. The Cardinals came up with yet another big play when they won the coin toss. Landry and Staubach plotted strategy for when Dallas got the ball, if they got the ball. For Hart had moved the Cardinals to the Dallas 26, but then took one chance too many. Hart's underthrown pass was easy pickings for Leroy Jordan, who returned 38 yards to the Cardinal 37. Cowboys were formerly stocked with old pros like Jordan, but have recently been going with youth. 12 rookies are on the current roster, and the Cowboys were not supposed to be contenders for the Cardinals' one-year-old throne. But when the big play was needed, it was the old pro who came through again. Number 55, Leroy Jordan, had given Dallas a chance to win if they could score and end a game that was dripping with tension.
But we won't count on it. Landry. Will either run or pass, and he goes for the first down, takes a hard knock from Leroy Jordan, but he gets it. He paid the price and got the first.
You know, Alex, you've commented on Leroy tonight. He's having a fine game and a remarkable year. He saved last week's game against St. Louis when it appeared, and we had this at the very top of the telecast, that St. Louis would win that overtime game, saved it with an interception. And this was the area he was supposed to be through. Randy White was to be trained, prepared to be middle linebacker.
And Leroy Jordan is still there as up the middle goes Algie Taylor, getting about a yard. It'll be second down. Call it 8. There they are. Leroy Jordan, 13 years in the league, number 55. Great All-American, Alabama. Leroy Jordan's quite an individual, too. We zoom in now on Gregory. Very active in Special Olympics, helping retarded children all over Texas and his hometown, Birmingham.
At the hands of Doomsday, and Willard Harrell was to be the payee. Leroy Jordan's fumble recovery led to another Dallas touchdown, but once again, Doomsday reared its crafty countenance. And once again, it was Leroy Jordan, number 55, who dashed Green Bay's hopes for an upset. Even though the Packers did recover Leroy's fumble, they couldn't move the ball. However, the second play of the fourth quarter, a pass intended to Smith, ended up in the arms of Leroy Jordan, and the Washington threat was ended.
Leroy Jordan is a very special individual. He only goes about 212 pounds, but he's been backing up the Cowboys line at the middle for 13 years. An All-American out of Alabama. He still is kind of special, and he's helping a lot of youngsters on this Dallas Cowboy team. They have 12 rookies, more than any other contender. Leroy Jordan, the defensive captain for the Cowboys, coming over to have a further explanation.
That's not his number on his back. That's his age, isn't it, Frank? He must be 55 years old, that man.
He moves around like a kid. He's having a great year, Leroy.
He's got gray hairs on his chest, Frank. That's old.
How do you know?
I've taken showers with him before, Howard.
Leroy Jordan, 13-year veteran of Alabama.
All right.
Watch that stunning Dallas defense. They begin to take all kinds of wild, twisting angles. Billy flags it left, and this is sort of that screen. Now watch where Moses is. He's right in between all the blockers. Actually almost runs over. I believe that's Lynn Hawes, the center, that's trying to help him. Right. Watch Leroy now. Welcome to Texas.
He got his attention, I think. Larry Brown now is the other running back. So Brown, the fullback. Ralph Nelson, who just came in the game, straight ahead again, 2 times. Let's see if we can't cut down on some of Leroy Jordan's pursuit, perhaps they're saying. The way to keep him home is to run at him.
Well, notice that Cliff Harris is up trying to make the tackle. Now watch Schonke on your left. He crosses with Hawsey. This is just an old Joe block inside, simple football. Leroy's there. Nelson almost breaks that one. And Harris is pretty close to the line of scrimmage. He's a sticker there.
No score. 2nd and 3, Washington. Larry Brown again, burrowing underneath. Not quite a first down, but close.
At that time, Too Tall Jones was backed off in that stunt position that we've seen the Bob Lillies and people do over the years. And the Redskins luckily ran right at it, and Too Tall wasn't up on the ball. Now see where Too Tall is, the right part of your screen? He's not even up on the ball. Boy, this makes your middle linebacker have to fill in a hurry, which Leroy did.
14, Washington 10. Thomas, nothing doing there. Leroy Jordan Johnson in a passing situation right away, and does. That might have been a lateral. That might be a lateral. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But you can't advance it for a touchdown.
You cannot advance it.
You can get possession of the football.
That's going to be Dallas ball. Yes, sir.
That was... Listen to this crowd. All right, watch Nelson now. It's sort of a slip flare. And that is a lateral. There's no doubt about it. And Nelson was so mad about not catching the ball, which he should have. Leroy Jordan got it. Can you believe that?
As Doomsday drew a bead on the multi-talented back.
He really throws the ball around. Second down now, 11. That's Marinero in motion. Foreman. And Chuck gets back that yard they lost to the 20-yard line. It'll bring up a third down. Jethro Pugh. They say Pugh is playing as well as he's ever played this year.
Let's take a look here at Leroy Jordan, number 55 on this play. As you see, he stuffs the hole and then takes the Foreman on one-on-one. Does a real fine job of linebacking.
One thing about Jordan, he's not very big, but he hits as hard as anybody. He has 6 interceptions this year, which tied his career high.
Gary, I talked to Jordan this morning, and you know his weight's down to about 2.5. Can you imagine that for middle linebacker?
Boy, he's a mean 2.5, though. That Doomsday defense forward wall. A first down. Chuck Foreman. 35, and Leroy Jordan was there. The former Alabama All-American over there at a dropping. Little or no gain on that play, and it's going to bring up a second down. A give to Foreman. Foreman hit as Leroy Jordan was there. Jordan played remarkable football this year. There's been some talk it might be his last year. Bug Grant on the other side. 2 excellent coaches of this game. Here's Chuck Foreman. Foreman goes nowhere. Foreman hit that time by Leroy Jordan, and Jordan playing very well in this first half of play, and I'm sure that doesn't surprise you, John. He seems to get up a little more for games like this one.
I don't remember any time that I've ever seen Leroy Jordan as small as he is. I mentioned to him this morning that his weight was really down. He's playing about between 2.5 and 2.10, and that's not big at all for a middle guard.
Intended for Jackson and covered instead by D.D. Lewis, his second big interception of the game. So D.D. Lewis, who made the interception against James Harris, and that led to the first Dallas touchdown. Now with 7 minutes left, D.D. makes another.
You can see at this stage of the game, the linebackers are getting good depth. They're not concerned with the run. You see the pass, it gets tipped here. It's tipped up in the air by Jordan, and D.D. picked it off for his second interception.
Just in case it might come up, and in this kind of a game, it will. D.D. stands for Dwight Douglas.
With Rocky Blyer and Franco Harris, the running backs take it over in good shape. Harris gets the ball on first down, cuts back inside for about 2 or 3. Middle linebacker Leroy Jordan came out to make the tackle.
On by Cowboy fans who decked the walls with signs. This one is our choice for the best of the Thanksgiving Day category.
On second down, here's one of the better ones, Lawrence McCutcheon. Leroy Jordan was the guy who made the initial contact.
Let's take a look at the play. They pull the left tackle right out of your screen. Watch 77 will pull. Mack takes the inside. Good block on the outside, but good recovery. And a tough tackle not quite completed by Leroy Jordan.
McCutcheon. Leroy Jordan around his leg.
Good hole open up, too. Good trap blocking on Cole. But a great recovery by the middle linebacker. And as you know, the middle linebacker should make these tackles. But look at this good hole opened up as Harvey Martin is handled. And Leroy's there. Good tackle here.
Bob Klein got a good block.
While the number 55 has been synonymous with excellence, Doomsday enjoyed a mix of budding stars and bona fide all-pros. Linebackers Bob Brunig, Randy White, D.D. Lewis, and Jordan operated behind a flexed front four. Everyone in the flex had zones of responsibility, and they played it so well that only one running back gained 100 yards against it. The coach on the field was Leroy Jordan. After 13 years as an all-pro and leader of the defense, Jordan announced his retirement.